My name's Jesse. We got a little bit of a burner for you today. Welcome to American Beef Ranch. Like I said, my name's Jesse. This is American Beef Ranch. Thank you for stopping in. And you know what to do. Check out the links in the description. It'll help you guys out. I guarantee it. And anyway, today I want to talk about what you don't know will hurt you. And honestly, getting started in farming and getting moving in this deal, it's really important to pinch those pennies. And some of the companies that you have to work with aren't looking out for you. So we all know if you're a young guy, you're trying to get started in farming, it's really hard. You have to have debt and you have to have credit and cash flow and all those other things that people talk about. But sometimes what you don't know will hurt you. Even though you think you're doing everything right, you can still suffer in a crop like this one behind me. This corn crop behind me suffered because I didn't know something and it really hurt it. So you look behind me really simply. This pivot is pretty old. Back in the day, they put drops out the side of the pipe. Okay. And nowadays all the drops come out of the top of the pipe, and they did that like 50 years ago. So this was like over 50-year-old pivot. And I have some other used pivots. All my other used pivots have drops out the top. And I couldn't figure out why, and it didn't make sense. But the dairy that's taking this for corn silage came to me, and the farm manager was out here looking around. And he's like, you know, there's something wrong with your pivot. He's like, those pivots are doing just fine. This dirt's not much different from those other pivots. There's no reason that this corn should be a couple feet shorter than that corn over there. And he's like, it's got to be your sprinklers. He's like, I know they look like they're working. You've got good pressure, but something's not right with your sprinklers. You need to crawl up there and take them apart and see what's going on. And granted, I had got up there while the pivot was off, and I had wrapped all the drops up to get them up above the corn to make sure it was watering on top of the corn and not down in the corn. But what we noticed is that as soon as I took those sprinklers off, they were full of grass and nastiness, just completely full above the regulators, blocking flow. But then I would unkink the hose, because they have drops that are hoses, and a whole bunch of mud would come out of there. And that was the entire pivot, except for where there's 4 or 5 drops that are on top of a pipe that got replaced a few years ago when the pivot fell down. So I didn't know it was that big of a deal, and guess what? It's going to cost me. This corn is not going to yield as much as we were hoping for out here, or I lost yield, lost potential income because of not knowing that if it's coming out the side of the pipe, they're going to be a lot nastier. I got to clean them a lot more frequently, like a lot more frequently. So interesting enough, another thing that can hurt you, what you don't know, will hurt you and cost you money, because I see it every day. Farmers, every day it's costing them money, is the fertilizer industry. The fertilizer industry is completely set up to sell you a product that you think you need, and you don't. And they do not teach you or tell you or show you really how soil works, because if they did, you wouldn't need them. And guess what? They wouldn't make any money. And hey, look, I'm all about capitalism. I sell stuff for money too, but I hope it's to a means to an end. The fertilizer company doesn't think like that. The fertilizer company doesn't know anything about carbon to nitrogen ratios. The fertilizer company can't tell you what your biology in your soil needs to survive. The fertilizer company can't tell you what available calcium is, how it works, and why it's probably more important than almost any other nutrient. Your fertilizer company can't tell you what the dry matter of a plant is. You can take all the water out, what's left in a plant. And I'm telling you, as much nitrogen you put on, it's not. Because the dry matter of a plant, 3% of it is nitrogen. That's it. There's 2 main and 1 other that are much larger than nitrogen: carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Those 3, which makes sense because plants are all about sugar, those 3 make up sugar. Those 3 are way more important than nitrogen ever could be. But how does carbon work? How does oxygen work? How does hydrogen work? Is any of that stuff ever taught? Have you ever heard of that before? Odds are, if you're coming to me and have never watched any of my videos talking about soil or soil health or how the soil is supposed to work, you probably don't. Your fertilizer company probably doesn't know what a penetrometer is, testing the surface tension of the ground, testing how hard and compacted the ground is. They just say, oh, it's compacted, you need to do this, which what they're selling you is not going to fix compaction. They don't know what a refractometer is. Well, actually, they know what a refractometer is, but they look at you with like you have 2 heads, because nobody can figure out how to make that move, which is completely mind-boggling to me. And they don't know what an EC meter is. They don't talk about the electrical conductivity of the soil, how everything has a heartbeat. They don't know. They'll just say a weed is something, you know, it's a plant you don't want there, so kill it, spray it. But they can't tell you why these weeds are here, what they're doing here, and what they mean. Like I said, we could keep going down this rabbit hole forever. But the biggest thing you need to know as a farmer is that the biggest investment you can make is not stock options, not long-term land, buying land cheap. Probably the largest determiner of success in farming in the next 100 years is whether you can get your soil healthy and you can cut your input or fertilizer cost to under 25% of what it is now. Because if you can do that, you're gonna thrive. There is no just surviving, you're gonna thrive. And it's possible, it's not that hard. We talked about it before. Let your soil respirate, get some carbon in that soil, get your pH right, let the bugs in the ground do the work they're supposed to do, and heck, farming gets a heck of a lot easier because the weeds go away, your crops are great when you fix the water problem on your pivot, and I mean, life's just better, guys. So please take the time to learn about soil health. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.